Hello, hi dear students. So today I'll discuss it about Nation and Imagination, which was written by Dipesh Chakrabarty in the book of Provincializing Europe. So let's see. Uh, First, background of the text. Uh, Here he was a historian and post-colonial theorist. Apart from that, he criticizes Eurocentric historicism, and after that he calls uh, universalism of modernity calls to provincializing Europe. It means here in criticizes about, it means he criticizes of European categories emerges from his broader project in his book, so where he challenges the assumption that European history represents a universal model of progress. So here the first point, dominance of European categories. European Enlightenment produced concept like nation, citizenship, modernity. So these concepts like which was presented as a universally applicable, but it were rooted in specific only in European historical concept, like how European historical experiences are rooted in Eurocentric, European centric, like feudalism, capitalism, and modernity. So among from that, the next point, uh, colonial transmission of modernity in India and other colonies. These concepts were not naturally evolved, but these concepts were introduced through colonial power. This is what he criticizes. It means he calls that colonial domination. This is what creates a historical gap. It means colonization nations were seen as not yet modern, like in Edward Said's what he said about how European East and West concept, like that. So it means colonized nations were not at modern and uh, forced to catch up with Europe. So that's why, according to his point, it means how he argues that his point, we must decenter European from its position as the sole reference point of modernity. Here, provincializing means understanding European or Europe as one particular history among men. It means this is what shows universal timeline or all nations must follow Europe. So after that, imaginations of the nation, in India, nationalism reimagined the nation emotionally, religiously, mythologically. So like that in India, nationalism reimagined the idea of nation through like religious and cultural symbols like Bharata Mata, Ramayana, these kinds of references, what he took, and after that, through emotional experiences like sacrifices, devotion, collective memory. So after that, sacred time blending with modern historical time, this is what produced spirituality, emotional, and nationalism distinct from Europe's secular rationalism. So how it's impacted on progress of models history. It means it opens a space for understanding diverse ways of imagination, imagining about nationalism, nationhood, and modernity beyond Western framework. So this is what the background timeline of this particular uh, text. So in this slide, we will discuss it about title distribution, nation and nation and imagination. It means here nation. a modern political sovereign state. It means concept not universal. It's creatively imagined in India. So here in this particular essay, imagination includes myths, religions, emotions, and beyond Western secular models. So here, nation and imagination, European idea of nation. So in Enlightenment of Europe, a nation was conceived as a rational, secular political entity. So grounded in law, citizenship, and linear historical progress. So it emerged alongside capitalism, individual rights, and the modern state, making it appear as a universal stage of development. So how it's related colonial context in India, it means India did not uh, organically evolve in this concept. It arrived already shaped by European thought. So, through colonialism only, it means the Britishers who colonized us, the European model failed to fully resonate with India's cultural, religious, and social realities, particularly in rural and traditional communities. So, how imagination rolled in Indian thinkers and leaders, it means they reimagine the nation through familiar symbols like religious icons like Bharat Mata. In English, we called Mother India. Mythological narratives from epics such as Ramayana and Mahabharata. And after that, uh, they discussed about sacred notions of time, time that contrasted Europeans' linear progress. It means emotional experiences of suffering like sacrifice and devotion. This made nationalism morally and spiritually charged and not merely political project. And transformation of nationhood, this is what imported European concept was translated and Indianized. Nationalism in India blended modern political ideas like freedom, democracy, with the traditional values like dharma, seva, moksha, like these kinds of concept. So it means making it emotionally compelling. So unlike European secular model, Indian nationalism became a sacred collective moral and endeavor. And why the title fits nation and imagination, it means nation represents the modern political structure India encountered. Why? Colonialism. After that, imagination. This is what shows the creative and cultural reworking of the structure by Indians. So, in this slide, paragraph one, we I will discuss it about challenging universality of nation state. So here, I will discuss it about through this paragraph. One, European theory versus colonial experiences. It means European universalism. So it means it taught about enlightenment, uh, framed nation, like state formation and necessary universal stage in the evaluation of societies. So European history was seen as the template like feudalism, capitalism, modern nation state, democracy. Otherwise, other societies were measured against this timeline. It means implying that Europe was ahead while colonies were lacking. Here, colonies means the nations who colonized, like India. It means they are totally far beyond that Europe. So, colonial encounter with a nationhood, colonies like India did not develop nationhood internally. It means the idea of nation arrived as a pre-constructed European concept completely, and tide of notions of secularism, rational citizenship, and linear progress. But historic timeline and subcoordination, Europe imposed historicist narrative ranking nations on timeline of progress, and colonized societies were depicted as living in Europeans fast. It means they were waiting for a modernization. This is what created temporal hierarchy, where India's present was Europe's bygone stage. So this is what the modern nation arrived in the colony, already coded in the European thought, already embedded in secular historist ideas of time and progress. So after that, the infused nationalism with religious myths and sacred history, emotional thoughts, emotional bonds, making it resonate locally. So this is what reimagined nation was, not a copy, but a creative adoption, blending modern political ideals with traditional spiritual frameworks. This is what uh, versus it's completely about European nationalism versus completely colonized nations nationalism. So it means this is what called challenging universality of a nation state. So here Chakraborty exposes Eurocentrism of treating nationhood as a universal in linear path. So he proposes histories where modernity and nationhood emerges differently in different cultural setting. So in this paragraph two, reworking European ideas, it means reinterpreting modern concepts in India, like European Enlightenment introduced ideas like freedom, rights, sovereignty, and democracy. They were tied to secular individualism, rational law, and the modern state. In colonial India, such abstract concept had a little direct meaning for many people, especially in rural and traditional communities. They were unfamiliar with Western political theory and challenge of emotional resonance. Unlike Europe, these ideas evolved alongside social revaluations in India. It means they arrived through colonial rule. Words like citizen rights, these kinds of words did not naturally connect with local experiences rooted in caste and community and religious duty. So it means here uh, the point like Gandhi Swaraj, political plus moral, ethical self-rule. This is what shows a role of Indian leaders, how the thinkers like Mahatma Gandhi, Balagangadhar Tilak, and Rabindranath Tagore, they imagined, it means reimagined modern concept to suit India's in moral and spiritual landscape. Like Swaraj in Western politics, it's called self-rule. But when it comes to Gandhi's reinterpretation, it will be called as inner self-rule. So it means like a discipline of truth, non-violence, ahimsa, and like ethical living. So after that, freedom, which is called as Swatantra, not just liberation from British rule, but freedom of the soul and self-realization. So these concepts were discussed in this in the view of Chakrabarti. Like here, rights connected with dharma, it means called as duty, seva, service. So democracy framed through ideas of collective harmony, like panchayat, like village councils, and especially based on governance and cultural necessities, very very important reinterpretation. So to necessary for political mobilization, this is what allowed masses, peasants, women, and marginalized communities to emotionally relate to the freedom struggle. This is what the blending of political ideals with Indian tradition called nationalism became a shared cultural movement, and it's not just like a elite intellectual project. In this slide, the double self of the colonial subject. This is what the split between Western rationality and local tradition. This is what called psychological duality of colonial elites. So, colonial education and European rationalism here, the educated Indian elites like lawyers, civil servants, intellectuals were schooled in European knowledge systems only, like science, like called empirical reasoning, industrial progress. When it comes to liberalism, individual right, secularism, civic equality. When it comes to law and bureaucracy, called codified governance, British institutions, especially modeled on British institutions, publicly. They adopted Western modes of speech and thought and presenting themselves as a modern rational subjects. So when it comes to private world of tradition, so this is what totally outward of modernity in their privately used these elites. So they practiced religious rituals like Hindu pujas, Muslim prayers, like among all religion which they represent. So it means they maintained extended family bonds rooted in caste and kinship networks. Uh, this is what called the split self concept. It means he called psychological duality, split self concept, the colonial subject living in two worlds simultaneously. In this slide 4, we will discuss it about sacred versus secular time. It means how European nationalism called as linear historicism and like how Indian nationalism blends sacred mythic time with a modern history. So here, sacred versus secular time in Indian nationalism. So the first point is European secular time. European nationalism developed within a secular historicist framework. So it means history is a linear concept. It means it moves from past, present, future, and nation building tied to it means nation building tied to industrialization, enlightenment, reason, and chronological progress. Like example, if we took example called French Revolution marks a historical break leading toward modern democracy and citizen-based nationalism. So in Indian conception time, it means Indian conception of time in India, the imagination of nationhood drew upon two temporalities simultaneously. Simultaneously, it means secular chronological time, adoption of modern ideas like constitution law, elections, civic institutions. When it comes to sacred mythological time, it means it rooted in epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, and spiritual cosmology. This is what time was seen as uh, cyclical and eternal, and it's not just a historical progression. So, apart from that, colonial oppression, oppression link likened to Ravana's tyranny or Kaurava's injustice. So, like freedom fighters portrayed as avatars of righteousness, like Dharma, the land by itself imagined as a Bharatamata, it means Mother India, depicted as Hindu goddess in art and songs, a sacred mother figure who suffering under foreign domination. It means the people who were awaiting liberation by her children. And nationalists combined like political events, example, non-cooperation movement with mythic storytelling and Gandhiji's Salt March framed as dharmic act against adharma, which is called as injustice. And in those times, martyrs remembered as sacrificial, it means sacrificed heroes, and they're considered as eternal struggle for righteousness. So, unlike European nationalism, was just which was rational and secular, and when it comes to Indian nationalism, became it is called as spiritually infused. People saw the fight for freedom movement as a holy duty. So not just political activism, and this sacred or secular time, this nationalism, nationhood, completely when it comes to India, which was called as emotionally binding of songs, rituals, festivals, merged with patriotic fervor. So this is what called nationalism according to Indianness. So it means the nation was not only political construct but also sacred destiny. It showed that modern nation could be emerge without discarding myth, religion, or sacred time. It means it produces completely unique post-colonial model of nationhood rooted in histories through their spiritual imagination. So in this fifth slide, emotional foundations of Indian nationalism. It means nationalism was deeply emotional, not just legalistic. It means freedom movement, like ritual songs and martyrdom. The nation had to be felt through grief, pride, sacrifice. It we called as collective memory. See, nationalism in India was fueled nationalism in India was fueled more by emotion than by legal rationality, like patriotic songs, rituals, commemorations, public sacrifice fostered. It means the shared sense of humanity among they left a deep collective like pride, grief, and it's a completely duty toward the nation. These kinds of concepts, these kinds of collective memory, completely what shows nationalism. And this is what called completely emotional dimension, which transferred nationalism into a lived affective experiences. So after that, when it comes to translation of modernity into local symbols, see here Bharat Mata as a emotional nationalist symbol. So these kinds of concept were often it's too very abstract for rural Indians to grasp what it is. So, nationalist leaders, therefore, they expressed these ideas using cultural symbols, like which is very familiar for them. Like they always used to uh, give the idea of Bharata Mata, a personified nation. It means as a divine mother of India. So, and especially freedom was understood as a moksha, spiritual revelation, and colonial rule was equated with adharma. So these kinds of meaning which was uttered by the people. So these kinds of symbolic translation made nationalism accessible and especially in emotional manner, which they fostering a wider spread of participation in freedom movement. So the role of print and culture vernacular languages in that uh, time, it means print media played a very crucial role in dismissing nationalist ideas across India. So here it means unlike the larger secular and rationalist print capitalism of Europe, when it comes to Indian print culture, uniquely blended modern and political discourse with folk traditions, and especially in through religious texts, and they emotionally charged narratives by publishing materials in vernacular languages. It means a common language for the people. And so, after that coexistence of multiple temporalities, so here Indian nationalism combines linear historicism and mythic time. So, simultaneously, So historical events such as Salt March, and after that political struggles, a modern of political struggles against colonial rule. At the same time, uh, like these kinds of found in the Ramayana and Mahabharata symbolized which symbolized eternal fights between dharma and adharma. This is what blending of secular historical moments with sacred mythological nationalism. So after that, as a result, it united people across generation, across beyond the states, beyond the borders, like backgrounds, weaving collective identity. It was deeply rooted in both history and tradition. So, when it comes to subaltern and popular imagination, nationalism was not solely articulated by elites, but it's completely ordinary people who are peasants, workers, and marginalized communities also played a vital role in shaping it through or their oral tradition, folk songs, and festivals. So these kinds of subaltern expression often diverged from political allied visions, but enriched the nationalist movement by their participation through their cultural practices. And this is what shows their experiences. And it will be called as the dynamic highlights of nationalism. So bottom of the art. And after that, he discussed about the imagination of the nation took shape in many subaltern and everyday practices. So here, the tensions between secular and sacred nationalism. This is what the conflict between secular and religious visions of nation, because uh, here, Indian nationalism embodied a persistent tension between secular constitutional ideas and sacred religion-based nationalism. So, while leaders like Nehru envisioned a democratic and secular India grounded in constitutional values, many among the masses envisioned the nation as a Hindu culture homeland. This emotionally charged sacred nationalism served as a powerful unifying force, and they totally against colonial rule. So these kinds of communal tensions have continued to shape India's social political landscape in post-independence era. So limits of European political categories. So it means it didn't fully explain Indian realities. It means just European political categories often fail to capture the complexities of Indian social political life. So when it comes to Western categories such as citizen, state, public, spades often fail to fully capture social and political complexities. When it comes to identities in India deeply shaped by caste, religion, community-based loyalties. So, which challenges the assumption of European liberal frameworks. Scholar Dipesh Chakrabarty, he argues that rethinking modernity in localized terms rather than universalizing European historical experiences. So this approach calls recognizing diverse paths to modernity, which is called India's unique social realities. So after that, uh, nation as a plural imagination. It means Indian nationalism has always been diverse and contested. So when it comes to various groups, envisioned the nation differently as a secular democracy. It means it's called as a Hindu homeland, socialist utopia, a site of subaltern resistance. This is what shows completely multiplicity enriched national prospect. So thus the nation is best understood not as a singular. It means it will be called as unified narrative. It means called as dynamic, plural imagination. So, like that. So, uh, in conclusion, When it comes to nationalhood is a sorry, nationhood is a complex, emotional, culturally rooted. Here, he discussed about nation and imagination. He defines nationalism as a phenomenon deeply rooted in a cultural and emotionally dimension rather than being solely. So that's why he wrote Provincializing Europe. Chakrabarty highlights the plural stories, it means sacred temporalities and affective bonds that shaped post-colonial nationhood in India. This is what uh, his approach challenges Eurocentric conception of modernity, offers a richer, more inclusive understanding of nationalism on that accounts for diverse experiences beyond Western paradigms. Paradigms. This is what the complete nation and imagination. So, thank you.